Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show. A big topic here on the Morning Show and on Park City Television over the last year really has been the topic of mental health here in Park City. It's kind of something that's been talked about all over the country as well, and nurses and psychiatrists and psychologists have known for a long time what nature can do to someone in terms of beneficial therapeutic remedies, just taking simple nature walks and spending a little bit of time in nature. And for that, I have Alison Page here, who's the owner and therapist over at Trail Talk, which you kind of blend these two worlds together of the beautiful outdoor scenery that we are lucky enough to have here in Park City, as well as the marriage of kind of therapy and mental health awareness. Let's talk about your organization and where and how it got started.
Right, great. Well, I've been in Park City for 28 years or so, and raised my children here, and have experienced a lot of stress in this town, just being a mom and a working person, and so as my children were about to launch, I realized that I really wanted to continue working in the field of nursing. So I went back to grad school, got a second master's in family psychiatric nursing. So I've been a nurse since 1980, and then got my first master's in pediatrics back in '85. And so doing it a long time. But the second time in grad school, I was seriously stressed out, because when you're older, you realize how much you don't know, and so it was much more difficult than when I was 25.
Especially with a field like nursing and psychology, where things tend to update on a yearly basis. Education, terminology, there's new findings, so it's really hard to kind of come back into it. I understand that. And so you kind of found that through that stress, is that how you kind of discovered your love for this?
I was really kind of taken aback that I was so stressed out when I was supposed to be learning how to be a therapist and help people with self-care. And I was realizing I wasn't taking care of myself. I was actually doing therapy, but my therapy was really getting outside. And every time I went into the woods, it was like, oh, this is cathartic, this is my therapy. And one day I was out with my dog, and I was snowshoeing, and I'm like, oh, this is what I need. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do this with my clients. I'm gonna walk and talk. So I ran home and I Googled it, and there's a guy in New York at Central Park. He's a really cool dude, and called him up, and he says, oh yeah, this is the best, you know? He says, not only, my wife loves it too, I've lost 50 pounds and I'm happy, and it's like, I'm gonna do that. And then Trail Talk was born. I trademarked the name, and I thought, I'm gonna create a business around this. And it's just evolved over since 2010, I opened the doors. And yeah, I want to share it with others. And
so this concept of going out into Mother Nature to kind of cleanse yourself, I guess you could say, is nothing new. There's actually a practice in Japanese culture, and the name is slipping from my memory right now, but the practice is actually going out into the wilderness. It's actually what the name translates to in English is like a wilderness bath, basically. And so you're going into Mother Nature to cleanse yourself of these stresses, to kind of just detach, and get away from that headspace. It's a very negative headspace. But I think you made a very great point as well. Alongside of the mental aspect of it, that the really cleansing part mentally, it's also really great physically as well. I mean, like you said, the man in Central Park had lost 50 pounds just by getting out and exercising a little bit.
It's about movement. And one thing that I think we forget is that we really have to be, we just have to have some downtime. We have to have some time to just gather our thoughts. I say, move your body, clear your mind. And so just as all of us go out with our friends and family members and we're walking and talking, it's that bilateral movement. Trail Talk doesn't replace exercise. It's not competitive anyway. It affords for intermittent eye contact. It just allows us to be in the sun. We have a little release of endorphins. And when you decrease the emotional intensity of a topic, it lends clarity, so you can put your head on and you can think and feel at the same time. So it's a very appropriate way to try to get clear about some issues that we're struggling with.
Let's talk about that kind of, I like the point that you made about the relationship between thinking and feeling. We were talking about this a lot during the break, and I think we got kind of the point that they go really hand in hand. You think wellness and you feel well, but at the same time you have to be treating your body well enough, because like we said, even though your brain is this great place for thought and free conscious thought or whatever, it's still a muscle in your, it's still an organ in your body that needs oxygen, it needs nutrition, it needs all of that. So you got to take care of your body as well. It's not just all about mental health either.
Right. Right. So it's that the term mind-body integration. What does that mean? It's like who thought that up? They're always one. And so your mind informs your body, and your body informs your mind. So how you feed your mind and how you think informs how you feel. And so how you fuel your body affects how you think. So it's really just one system, and I think that's really something we have to think about, that we have to pay attention to those lifestyle choices we make. So one other thing you mentioned was it's really shifting the paradigm away from mental illness to mental wellness. And
Absolutely.
I think, so Trail Talk's really trying to show that what does it mean to be mentally healthy? And many of us don't even know. And we have to really, there's a lot of balance, but balance is dynamic. We move in and out of mental wellness, and that's why doing emotional tune-ups and lending parity to emotional care. We take care of ourselves preventively. This town's really big into physicality, and we really value our ability to recreate. Well, we go for preventive health cares, we get our knees fixed, whatever ails us. We have to lend the same parity to our emotional
Same
selves.
goes to the mind as well, and I like the tune-up, as you called it, an emotional tune-up, a mental health tune-up, and we can think of it in that way, and if we think of it in that way, I think it encourages us to take the steps to take preventative measures rather than reactive measures to our mental health. Rather than reacting to a problem that's already existing, we can take preventative measures and be proactive about what we're doing to prevent mental health problems in the future. And I think that this shows that we can, and it's important that we think about this like we would our overall physical health, going in for a 6-month mental health checkup, even if you're not feeling mentally ill.
Let's just kind of get tune up, and basically it's a very, there's a lot of stigma around emotional care.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, and for active functional people, they're like, well, I'm not really sick enough, and I should be able to do this on my own. It's like, no, this is something that's okay to ask for help. And so we're opening up the therapy door and shedding light on the shame and stigma of emotional care.
But where is the line? How sick is sick enough, right? When are you going to draw that line? How sick is sick enough? And so your organization and your business provides a great resource for people who maybe feel that they're not, like you said, sick enough to go maybe sit on a couch and speak to a therapist in a full therapy session, but really just want to get out and just release and just release maybe some of the stress and the emotion that they've been clinging to for some time.
And just to have someone neutral to talk about, because our friends and family will tell us what we want to hear. They won't challenge our thinking. They won't question our thought errors. And we work with couples too. And so couples have to realize that you got to get help before the flame burns out. But because once you turn into roommates, it's really hard to get that spark back and become a couple versus roommates. And so we really encourage couples to seek out walk and talk therapy as well, because there's opportunity to heal relationships, and it's really about turning towards each other. And so walking and talking next to each other just feels less clinical. And when you have a lot of stigma around, or you believe that there's stigma around seeking help, it just makes it feel less clinical.
I agree completely, and you feel less burdened to do so and to go seek that help. Let's talk about your website, where people can get a hold of you, and maybe schedule an appointment with you as well.
Great. So the website's quite robust. You can go up into the left-hand corner, and there's a place to sign up for our e-newsletter. I blog regularly, and I talk about these issues and make it just a little less intimidating. Gives you an opportunity to say, do you see Alison's blog about anxiety? Or so anyway, I got that. And then there is a place where you can sign up for an appointment. You can go to the Park City location or the Provo location. We're hoping there's going to be a Salt Lake location this summer, and we're growing. This is going to become a I'm selling trailheads, they're called, and so Provo was the first one. It's quite successful, and the therapists are just enjoying combining nursing theory with wilderness therapy.
This is really great, and I would love to see this concept spread to many more trailheads, as you said, all across the country, because this is something that is definitely much needed in this current kind of state that we're in here in this country.
Absolutely.
I think. Alison, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Absolutely,
absolutely.
Enjoy
it. Alison Page, who's the owner and therapist over at Trail Talks. Be sure and check out their website and maybe pay Alison a visit. Even if you're feeling like you don't need to be speaking to a psychologist or therapist about your mental health, it's always good to go in and just have a little checkup and just have a chat and spend some time outdoors, because not only is it great for your mental health, it's great for your for physically as well. We'll be right back here on the Mountain Morning Show as we get ready to wrap up this first hour here right after this break. Don't go anywhere.